Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and get started, and hopefully more people will join on as the evening progresses. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Melissa Lampe, and I'm the director of the Watertown Main Street program. I've been in this position for 5 years, and I'm coming to you from my lovely office at 519 East Main Street. It's a little strange being here without Bonnie Hurdle, our chamber director. She's at home. I can see her right there. I have everyone muted right now, but I want this to be a really interactive event, so feel free to unmute if you'd like to comment or ask questions along the way, and then just remute yourself, please, when you're done talking. You can ask questions using the chat feature. Sandy Budowitz is going to monitor that, and we'll try to keep up with the chat feature. And again, please feel free to ask questions, but if you're going to speak, just introduce yourself, because not everyone may know you. And if you're with a local business, just say which business that you're from. So again, I'm Melissa. We'll run through an agenda for the evening. I'm going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint presentation. We won't have the screen shared the whole time because I want us to be able to discuss things, but we have to get through a little bit of business because this is technically the annual report or annual meeting for the Main Street program. So 1 second. Everybody see the PowerPoint? Yes? Okay. So let's see here. So tonight's agenda, we're going to talk about 2020 facade projects. We're going to talk about a new ordinance that will expand outdoor dining and entertainment options outside on Main Street, downtown. We'll have a capital projects update. We'll talk about where the library is right now, where the town square project is, and seawall repairs. We'll talk about the formation of a new downtown Main Street reconstruction task force. We can discuss COVID-19 impacts on local businesses, and then open it up to any other discussion that people may have questions or things they want to share. I do want to talk about some positive things that happened downtown, always keeping in mind that I know that 2020 was an extremely difficult year for many of our businesses, and we won't let facade projects or other beautification projects overshadow really what was probably the most difficult year of most business operators' lives. But we'll talk about everything this evening. But I just fact, did you know, there are roughly 85 storefronts along Main Street from Washington to 7th Streets. 6% of these storefronts were actively for sale or lease as of January 2021. And current Main Street storefront occupancy is 89.5%, which I think is pretty high. We have one of the longest contiguous downtowns in the state of Wisconsin with a lot of really large buildings. And so we are slowly but surely getting them filled and getting them renovated, which is wonderful. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Main Street program, we're a nonprofit organization dedicated to the preservation, beautification, and economic vitality of downtown Watertown. We work in partnership with downtown building and business owners, the city of Watertown, and the greater Watertown community to inspire reinvestment and renewal in the city's historic business district. I am so lucky to be supported by a wonderful board of directors. Many of them are on this call tonight. They are Amber Smith. She's our board president. She owns the Chic Boutique. Sandra Budowitz is our vice president of Sandra D's Bridal. Brian Kahn's our treasurer from Oswald Kahn's Financial Group. Ron Council from Edward Jones. Peg Checkeye from the library. Tom Pash is our City of Watertown alderperson on our board. Bob Mudler representing Total Waste Solutions. Dan Rayfelt of Deerfield Properties. Kevin Clifford of Webco Printing, and then Jacob Moss, who is our city zoning administrator, sits on our board ex officio. He also represents the Chamber of Commerce. So we had some wonderful new businesses join our downtown family in 2020. Barn Owl Antiques and Treasures opened up at 208 South 1st Street, and there's that lovely building. And there are the 4 ladies, I'll include the little baby, who run that family business. Retech Device and Repair is on South 3rd Street. The Watertown Artisan Market opened up on 4th Street. Downtown Nutrition is on 2nd Street, and the Wiley Performing Arts Studio opened in the Central Block building, just right there on North 3rd. We also saw 2 significant local business expansions in 2020. Ava's a Posh Boutique relocated to a beautiful space in the historic Schimpf building. I think she quadrupled the size of her store, and it looks fantastic. And then Body Elements Massage and Wellness moved as a result of the library expansion, and they are now at 101 East Main Street. So the Main Street program runs multiple events and activities downtown. Beach Party Bingo is normally held the first Friday in March. Probably not the right time to do that yet. So we've decided to take our bingo event and spread it over 3 different events in the summer, and we're gonna try doing it outdoors. A brand new event this year is our Main Street Morning Mixer, which is coming up on March 21st. There are still tickets available, that's a hint. Main Street program oversees the wonderful Art on Main program, and that's where local artists paint the beautiful banners that hang on our lampposts, and we auction those off every fall. Main Street program hosts the Downtown Watertown Craft Beer Walk in July. We run a food booth at Riverfest. We organize Pumpkin Palooza. We host Women's Only Weekend. We have the Holiday Parade of Homes, which let's keep our fingers crossed that can happen this year. We administer Santa House. We've hosted an amazing New Year's Eve ball. We hope to do that again. And then we also organize the Watertown Gift Tins project. So all the money that we raise from all the events I just listed goes right back into our downtown. We pay for and maintain all the flower pots along Main Street. All the lamppost banners, in addition to the Art on Main banners, are all organized and funded by the Main Street program. The Main Street program also runs the Watertown Farmers Market, which not many people realize. We took over administration of that in 2016. And even though that occurs out at Riverside Park, the proceeds from the vendor fees for the market all come back to supporting downtown beautification projects and activities. Another major component of what we raise funds for are facade grants. And we have been very blessed over the past couple of years to be able to award substantial amounts in facade grant funding. In 2020, the Main Street program allocated $20,000 in facade grants. The year prior, we allocated a little over $20,000, and that was both through Main Street program funds and a donation from the Watertown Redevelopment Authority to help generate more money in facade grants for the downtown. So in 2020, 23 building facade projects were completed, which is outstanding. 9 of those projects received facade grant funding. Interior work occurred or exterior work started on an additional 7 buildings, and the combined value of all those improvements just for 2020 alone was $400,000 into our downtown. And those are just the projects I'm aware of. There could be other projects occurring that either don't require a building permit or are happening inside that are just off my radar, but to be able to say that we saw this much improvement downtown and honestly during the pandemic, I just think is outstanding. And pictured here is one of our many check passing photos that we staged last year. And this one was for the Chic Boutique facade grant. So what I'd like to do is just talk briefly about our facade grant projects and run through some before and afters of some of the more significant ones that occurred. And if anyone has any questions, again, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. We've seen a lot of this building in the paper lately, especially today. But this is a before and after of 113 East Main Street, the Chic Boutique. This is owned by Patrick and Lori Vohen. As you can see, when it was Nature's Health, it sat vacant for about 10 years, and the building obviously needed quite a bit of facade work. The center picture shows a rendering of the inspiration for what the building could look like. And that rendering was produced by Wisconsin Main Street. Watertown is one of roughly 36 designated Wisconsin Main Street communities. And because we have that designation and that connection, we have the ability to receive quite a bit of free technical assistance. And this facade rendering, and you'll see this one and the rendering for a couple other projects, is one of those great free benefits that we get being a Wisconsin Main Street community. And of course, the picture on the far right shows the beautiful finished product. Another great project that happened in 2020 is 300 East Madison Street, owned by Fourth Corner LLC. We all remember what the building looked like. Didn't have a viable tenant downstairs for many, many years, and now it's home to Dean Bedoric State Farm. The image in the center is the rendering produced by Wisconsin Main Street. And Bob Mudler, who is Fourth Corner LLC, he's on tonight. He really took that drawing and just copied it spot on, and it looks fantastic. Another great before and after, a hair off Main building at the corner of Market and 3rd Street. A beautiful Queen Anne style building. One of the few buildings in town that has this iconic, wonderful corner tower. And Kay and her husband did a phenomenal job painting this building. I could not have picked better colors. I just love it. Another great before and after that really lightened up our Main Street is 411 East Main Street, owned by Tom Pash. This has been a bakery for years. Tom took the wooden front off the storefront. Maybe he'll put that back someday in a different configuration, but in the meantime, this building was tuck pointed, it was painted, really got a nice facelift. Another great project that happened this year was 215 East Main Street. Another situation where the upper level just had not been painted in a long time. This building actually had bricks that were falling off of the cornice, so quite a bit of tuck pointing was done here. Kind of a unique thing that we see in Watertown a lot is where the storefront, the upper level of the storefront is bumped out. Why that was done, I'm not 100% sure, but usually inside buildings where you see that bumped out storefront, the ceiling has been lowered. There's usually duct work. There's things that have changed inside the building that make it difficult to take that away. Plus the storefront was expanded out. But a lot of buildings like Illusion Clothing and the Chic Boutique just use some creative carpentry to kind of break that up a little bit and some nice signage, and it turns out lovely. Another great project that we saw was 11 East Main Street. Erica and Jake Schultz have been doing a tremendous amount of work on this building. As you can see on the left, on the lower portion of the building, it had that brick veneer underneath the windows, and they started poking around a little bit and realized that there was some pretty cool woodwork under there. So a little demolition work, and we see these beautiful original elements underneath the windows that Erica and Jake spent the wintertime restoring, and now those are beautifully painted and installed on the exterior of their building. It's always fun when you take off a later unsympathetic improvement and you find the original details underneath. Another beautiful project before and after is the paint job at Main Street Cafe. Again, another building that had gone a long time without being painted and needed a tremendous amount of brickwork done. It's not glamorous, but tuck pointing is kind of the #1 need we have downtown, that and roofing repair. I wish we had more brick masons. It's a lost art, and we could employ a lot of brick masons downtown. So if you know of anyone, encourage them to call me, please. And then before and after of 300 East Main Street, Central Block Kitchen and Designs. Ryan Jones has been slowly chipping away at the exterior of this building. His next plan is to uncover the windows that have the faux shutters up over them. I believe for the most part, all the original glass is under those shuttered windows. So it'll be beautiful to see that building restored. Just like when the Literatus building's windows were uncovered many years ago, it was transformative. And then we're all watching this building continue its transition to restoration. This is 14 East Main Street. It's Dan and Maggie Wagner purchased this building, and it will be home to White Oak Studios, which is their design showroom. My picture is a little dated. They have the beautiful front door installed now, but hopefully once the weather breaks, we'll see some more exterior changes happening. And they're really hoping to have their first floor showroom open sometime in May. So it's a wonderful project for our downtown. So if you all saw the Daily Times today or saw the Main Street Program's Facebook page, we did a special thing on Saturday. We created a new award to recognize all these wonderful projects, and we have named it in honor of William Lindborg. And Bill Lindborg is on our call. Bill is from California, and as many of you know, Bill purchased the historic Schempf building at 207-209 East Main Street in 2014. I will let Bill talk about his connection to Watertown and how he found that building, but for all he has done for our community, I don't know if anyone else who would have taken a chance on that building, and all he has, I believe that Bill really kickstarted so much of what we're seeing today. We wanted to recognize him in this way. We sat down as a commission and thought, how can we approach this? And we had the commission do blind ballots, narrowing down all the buildings that were restored in 2020. Our criteria was that the value of the building renovation had to be at least $5,000 and the work had to occur within 2020. So we had so many wonderful choices, but ultimately the building at 113 East Main Street, the Chic Boutique, was our first place winner. And we also expanded the award to do an honorable mention for K. Strauss's building at 201 South 3rd Street. So what I would like to do is stop my screen share, but does anyone have any questions? I can't see you all, so if someone does, you have to speak up. Okay, then I will stop screen sharing, and I would like to introduce Bill Lindborg to kind of talk about his experience with the Schempf building, his his view of what we've known and a little about his connection to our community.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm broadcasting from a beautiful suite here at the Heritage Inn in beautiful downtown Watertown. And I wanted to say first of all, how honored I am to be here. It's I came here by way of a family journey, basically burying my mom and dad in the family cemetery at Oak Hill. And that's when I really discovered Watertown and had such a wonderful introduction to the people. And I had not had much introduction before that. And I came here with that mission, and this was in 2012. And I certainly saw the Schempp building, knowing that it was part of the family, and some other buildings on Main Street as well. And but I saw that the town, the Main Street was kind of languishing, and it was I was saddened by that because I felt there was so much opportunity, and would come back every year for an honorary journey back to the cemetery. And then finally in 2014, the building was still sitting languishing, and it was just starting to wear on my soul. And that's when I really decided, okay, let's look at it again. Let's see what's going on. Let's see why maybe nobody can do anything. And so that's kind of how my journey began. And with all of the momentum then, there wasn't a lot. Melissa, we had at that point Susan DeScenzo. We had several events within the building, because the first thing that I wanted to do is kind of take away the blighted nature. I don't know if many of you recall, but I, of course, all the windows were boarded up, put a bunch of banners, tried to reintroduce everyone to the history. And so I had a bunch of the historic photos that Ken Riedel helped me assemble, and I lit them up, and I was just trying to have people go back and re-envision what was, because often what was still can be. And it just seemed like we fell off track a little bit. The new moda operandi was, everything on Church, because it had parking out front, it had all of the wherewithals of new retailing, basically. And then of course the addition of Walmart made, a lot of shopping, drove it out of the Main Street area. And so we had to find different opportunities. And so basically holding some, and Melissa has been really a hero to me, because she's done so many things to help me reintroduce the building, to open it up when, again, it was, hadn't had any activity for many years. We had those forums, and which maybe seemed a bit counterintuitive, was to have the building actually declared a local historic landmark. Because as you see now, we all have to take pride in every single building, every aspect, the history that we have. And now we see that the fact that all that is paying dividends. And Mayor Mcfarland, you've done an amazing job by pulling everyone together. This community has never been stronger than it is today. And I was so lucky that Melissa took the time today to tour me around and show me many of the different buildings that some of you saw today on the PowerPoint. But I wouldn't have dreamed that so much in really a very compressed amount of time has occurred. And so it truly took a lot of effort from a lot of people. And I'm just so excited to be part of it now, just in a very ancillary. Well, I was maybe somewhat of a primary start. Now I'm more of an ancillary, just a catalyst of many, right? Which was always the goal, was to not to be so prominent. It was to be, let's all be prominent. And so I'm so honored to be able to report to everyone that I feel like Main Street is off the urgent care list now. It's very stable. people are recognizing that it's an opportunity. And that's a huge thing. I mean, that's a huge shift in a mental aspect of a town, because many people just, were asking me, why would you even want to be there? And, there was a website about Watertown and so many negative. I don't see or hear any of that anymore. And I love the ID, the new ID for Watertown, the identity, the branding, all of that was done many years ago now. You don't really understand that so many tools were laid out, and every one of those tools had a huge effect when it all starts to come together. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone that played such a tremendous role in this. Now you have a beautiful library coming into fruition. You have the town square. Those were just dreams. They were barely a dream, 5 or 6 years ago. They were thoughts, but there was no implementation, how to pay for it, how any of these mechanics would happen. And today, you have these programs. It's just brilliant. So my hats off to all of you for putting all of this together, and everyone that has stepped up and done work on their building. I'm just so honored to be one of you now. It's a room full, and that's an amazing transformation, I have to say. So I'm just, it's almost unbelievable, really. I just don't know what to say.
Thank you, Bill. Does anyone have any questions about his project or anything they'd like to ask or comment? Okay. Well, again, thank you so much. And I'm so glad you were able to come for the award presentation and for joining us tonight on the call.
True honor.
Thank you. Well, let's go ahead and move on. Mayor Emily Mcfarland is here with us this evening to talk about some efforts that are being made to expand outdoor music and dining on sidewalks downtown. And it's very timely because it's going to be before the city council tomorrow night. So Mayor Mcfarland.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having us and for obviously including us in a night like this. I know a lot of my team members are on the docket for tonight, and I take that as a positive sign, echoing what Bill just shared, that there's a lot of momentum, and we're proud to be a part of the force, as a city, joining our business community and our nonprofits and propelling us, continuing to propel us forward. And in government, some of the less cool ways that we can do that is through ordinance changes. So I'm going to share with you all tonight just a few of the ordinance changes that we've been working on over the past year. These changes were perhaps precipitated by the pandemic, but they're not ordinance changes that we haven't previously discussed. We just, I think, perhaps put them on a bit of a faster track to get completed. So the first ordinance change that the City Council has approved on the first reading and hopefully will approve on the second reading tomorrow pertains to Section 220, which is our regulation of alcohol in licensed premises. So what this will allow, if it's passed tomorrow, is for an outside sales area for the sales and consumption of alcohol. So if there is a licensed premise, this would be immediately adjacent and abutting that licensed premise, but outdoors. And it would require a 4-foot fence or enclosure. The outside space by right could not be larger than the interior space that it's correlated to. So we do have an exception process that we're building in that would be an exception granted by the licensing board and then approved by the council if indeed that outdoor space needs to be or is just naturally larger than the indoor space. But by right, it has to be, the outdoor space has to be not larger than the interior space. There cannot be any separate entry or exits. People who are coming to the establishment must come through an interior door. We did talk quite a bit about the hours of operation, acknowledging that some of our establishments that will, hopefully take advantage of this change are, have neighbors. So the way this ordinance is drafted is they could do this outside sales and consumption between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. Sunday to Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Fridays, Saturdays, and federal holidays. The noise ordinances still apply, even if you're within those hours. And we did put some limitations around live music. We included a 4-hour time block in a 24-hour period. The next change that is being considered tomorrow night that kind of coincides nicely with outdoor music is if you have a license through the city and you have music or karaoke or a DJ, you've likely also had to apply for a music permit. This was a $25 a year permit, basically just an opportunity for the city to know that you have live music, karaoke, or a DJ. And short of that, we didn't have much use for this permit. So this ordinance that will hopefully again be approved on its second reading tomorrow is going to remove the music permit. So that $25 a year permit will go away. But the requirement to follow the noise ordinance does not. So we are basically just removing a $25 permit, just an effort, a small, albeit a small one, but still an effort to make a little bit easier to do business in the city. So we will definitely hold tight to the noise requirements, but that music permit will go away if that's passed. And then one that already has passed, we passed in September. This applies just to the central business zoning district. And what this does is basically say that if you have indoor commercial entertainment conditional use permits, so think restaurants or taverns generally, that if you have that indoor commercial entertainment conditional use permit, you can by right now in the central business district have a similar type activity outdoors without having to have a permit. So if you think of, like the space by Mullins, they have indoor commercial entertainment. They have that small seating area outside. This ordinance change allows something like that to happen by right. So a couple of limitations around that is that the outdoor space cannot exceed 25% of the total area of the principal structure on the property, or 1,000 square feet, whichever is less. We also have some hours of operation. They're generally between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. any day when the indoor activity is happening and open. Obviously, if they're selling alcohol, I just shared with you a tighter time frame, so that tighter time frame applies to alcohol. And the noise standards and the exterior lighting standards, all of those same things still apply. So it does not get people around noise or lighting, but it does just make it a little bit easier to do outdoor commercial entertainment. And then just as a reminder, many years ago, which sounds crazy because it was 2013, but we did allow public dining in the right of way. So there's very few instances as it currently stands where it'll make it possible for a business to meet the requirements. But if people are interested and they own a restaurant, there is the opportunity for a sidewalk cafe. There's quite a few requirements around it that we can't get around because of ADA compliance. But I think the message here is to call building safety and zoning and have a conversation with Jacob, and we'll talk you through the multitude of requirements for that permit for outdoor dining. So quick summary of some of the items that we've been working at adjusting just to make it a little bit more pro-business, and frankly just acknowledging the progress that I think our community has kind of voiced pretty loudly that they're looking for. So we're thrilled to be able to be a part of the change movement. And if you have ideas or questions, I know that we want to hear them.
Thank you, Mayor Mcfarland. Does anyone have any questions? And if you're shy to ask, you can also ask them through the chat. You're also welcome to contact me afterwards or contact the mayor. This is a quiet group tonight. What I'd like to move on to next is an update regarding all of our wonderful capital improvement projects taking place downtown. And I'd like to have Peg Checkeye kick us off. She is our Watertown Public Library Director.
Good evening. It's always fun. I also actually look forward to this time of the year, so it's fun to see people. Too bad we have to meet virtually, but it's always informative and a lot of good sharing of information. I also wanted to echo what Bill Lindborg said too. This library project would not be as successful as it has been. The saying that it takes a village, I believe, really applies to this project. For all the people that supported it, either through their hard work, their volunteering, or monetary donations. A big thank you to the Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation. I believe I think believing in libraries and what libraries can bring, and seeing a new vision of the future for what a 21st library will bring to Watertown and to the surrounding area. It's going to be very exciting. We're very cutting edge. When I look at what other libraries are doing, even in bigger cities, working with providing social resources for people, that's something that our community will be providing and it's not just on a part-time basis. So I'm very excited about adding that component of services to the building. Hopefully you've been following the project. I like to post fairly often about what's going on, from the demolition all the way to last week. All the staff got to go through the building for a tour. The first time everyone was actually in the building. A lot of drywall. So that's what basically has been going on right now. And you can really start seeing everything taking shape, right down to the details in the Talk Replay Center. That's kind of where we are at right now. I'm working with the architect right now, to work on a lot of the details, paint colors, tiling colors, what color is the trim around the windows, right down to the color of the doorknobs, all those kind of fun things. So we're working on all those details. Shades for the Talk Replay Center. They hope to be finishing that up probably within the next few months. And at that point, we have to move everything in the 1984 building and the Carnegie, and we have to squeeze it all into that building next door. So to prepare for that, we are in the process of weeding the collection so that when we open back up, we have a really up-to-date and collection that people will want to check out, but it also will help us conserve some space. We probably will need to bring parts of the collection out of circulation. We're thinking like magazines, audiobooks, CDs. Those items we actually offer through digital access, either through Hoopla, Overdrive, Flipster, all those kinds of digital access people can get. So we just aren't going to have the room for a full collection in that side of the building. So we have to make those decisions. So we actually have to move everything right down. The whole building has to be cleaned out. They are basically gutting the 84 building. Carnegie is just getting a nice facelift. Hopefully they'll be tuck pointing this week or in the near future. They took out a permit to start tuck pointing on the front of the Carnegie really soon, but we aren't doing anything we aren't doing anything to the Carnegie except restoring it right now, giving a nice paint job, things like that. But the 84 is going to get a major uplift. And we're bringing the fireplaces back. So we will have 2 fireplaces in the building. A lot of the walls will be coming down. We have to watch out for the bearing walls. If you walk in the library currently, that door will go away. Our new entrance will be at the south end of the building. And that area now, that's the entrance is more like the teen area. We'll have a coffee area in that part of the building. And for those of you who have gone through a tour of the building, you can see I've always said there was a big grade change coming through from, I think it's like 8 to 9 feet between Water Street and Washington Street. And you can really see that in the building right now, how much they have to build that up. So we will be busy moving the library. And so once we move the library back over to the other side, it'll take another 6 months, 5 to 6 months for them to finish this project. And then we have to move the library back again. So I warned the staff, it's a lot of moving. And right now I'm looking for a moving company. So, and one big change you will see in the 84 will be the window wall on the east side of the building. So right now it angles in, and so that will be straightened out. It'll be solid windows, and so we'll have a beautiful view of the town square and really modernize the building. And I think as you drive up Main Street, the library will have a really strong presence in downtown. Want to clear up a few things. Myron does pull all the proper permits. We had some questions. Did they have the proper permit for a crane? Myron pulls their permits. You know, this isn't their first job, so to speak. And so I always check in with the superintendent of the job just to let them know what people are asking. So they do follow the rules. And the other thing that we've heard too is that the library project is over budget. And I want to assure everybody, it was news to me and it was brought up to a library board member. So we are not over budget, okay? Everything is fine. We've currently spent a little over the whole total budget right now from building or from doing all the building purchases, just about $3.2 million right now, but we are not over budget. Anyone have any questions? The quietness continues.
I know.
It's a fun time for the library. I hope everyone is looking at the different changes on the facade. They're putting up a cap right now on the front that really echoes the Carnegie building. And they still have to, of course, power wash the brick. They'll be power washing the brick on the Carnegie building. We have a few surprises in store for people. We've been digging in the bottom of the library here in the back a little bit. So we've unearthed a few treasures.
Peg, it's stunning. I saw a hole in the ground in September with just a start. And this time I came, the first thing I saw when I drove into town. So kudos to everyone involved with making that happen. It is a real anchor, landmark, you name it, it'll be a real iconic element for the Main Street and downtown and Watertown in general. So many, many thanks.
I have a strong group of people that supported me through this whole process. So very fortunate.
Very good. Well, thank you, Peg. All right, let's keep going with our updates. Nate Salas is with us this evening. Nate is a member of the Watertown Redevelopment Authority, and he's going to provide us with a quick update on where things are with the Town Square project.
Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate it. Yeah, I just want to echo everybody else's comments here. It's great seeing the community come together and invest in our downtown and take pride. And it's something that, as the RDA was formed, we talked heavily about how to partner with existing organizations like the Main Street program, because we have a lot of individuals and programs in our community doing great things. How can we support them and move in a positive direction together? Regarding the town square, the biggest news out there, I'm sure, as you all know, is regarding the delay to start construction revolving around the seawall. And just like everyone here, we were definitely disappointed by that. Early on the process, you have larger contingencies in your project budget because there are unknowns. Initially it was identified as, potential issue, but then we really couldn't get more information until time went on. So as it became apparent that that was something that needed to be addressed, we were advised that, and I'm sure you guys can all agree, the risk of not improving it and shoring it up was just too great given the investment we were going to make. And so we definitely had to go that direction. Like we said, we had large contingencies, and as you check boxes and make unknowns known, you can bring your contingency down. We still had a dollar amount that could address the seawall. So from that perspective, we feel okay, but we are still disappointed that we have to delay this into 2022. Having said that, what's been going on the last several months is that we asked a group of citizens to come together and work with the Smith Group to identify specifications for the town square. We try to get a diverse group of people because, us as RDA board members, we are not experts when it comes to specifications for downtown square, and the square is really about the community. It's not just about us. And so getting different perspectives and different people involved is important to us, and we appreciate the sacrifice they've made in helping check more boxes and make more unknowns known. that's where we sit today. So we are going through the seawall. As far as the implications go with that, it's approximately up to about 6 months to go through some of the DNR approvals and permitting. So we'll be working on that process here in 2021, at the same time shoring up our construction documents. And hopefully as soon as we get approvals, we're going to move forward and really hit the accelerator with the project. We're excited about where it's at. We love having the library project there. I think that continues to feed the energy in downtown. And regarding some news, you know, we've been talking about bringing someone full-time that would help lead the executive position of the RDA. Like any community, you evolve, and you know, we had a really good opportunity with someone that brought a vision to our community and could step in that role. But eventually, you grow into a role where it might be able to leverage someone in a more full-time basis that brings continuity with the city. So we're excited about where that's headed. The mayor's been great to work with and really got our RDA involved and engaged in that process. And I think when you see that role come on board, it's only going to improve the communication, the alignment within the community. And that's something that we continue to need to have momentum moving forward. And I'm very excited about where that's headed and what that means for us over the next several years.
Very good. Thank you, Nate. Does anyone have any questions about the Town Square project?
Nate, do you guys have a timeline at all? My concern is the east side of the building, that that Myron will be staging construction over there at the same time. They'll start construction across the street from us. So my concern is, will there be enough room and space and whatever for two construction jobs going on right across the street from each other?
Yeah, Peg, I think that's a great question. And I think you bring up a good point for us to communicate that. Right now, I can't say there's a definitive timeline other than 2022. I mean, I guess I don't want to come out too strong just because we need to get the DNR permitting. And but what we'll do, to your point, is we'll make sure with our new executive director that we're in constant communication and discussing, where Myron's at in regards to Water Street to ensure that we do have good teamwork. So thank you for bringing it up. I'll make sure we follow through on that.
Actually, 2022 sounds pretty good. Hopefully we would be done end of 2021, but by contract, Myron has to finish by January of 2022.
And when you shared that with me, Peg, I took it to that meeting. It's on the radar of not only the RDA, but the Smith Group. It's on our radar as well. So we will make sure that when it comes time for the Town Square, kind of rubber meet the road, you'll be our stop. You'll be a stop along the way.
All right, thank you. So speaking of seawall, I know we've all noticed that our existing Main Street Plaza has been closed since the fall. We have some seawall issues there. Our city engineer, Jane Ellen Holloway, is with us this evening, and I just like her to provide kind of an update of what's happening with that seawall.
Good evening, all. Yes, what is happening? Well, in late 2019, we noticed that on the east side of the bank, there is a seawall made up of metal bins. There's 8 segments to the bin structure. And we noticed that we had started to see failure in one of those bins. We decided at the time, since there was nothing in the budget, that we would monitor it. And we'd start looking for what the next steps were. In this last fall, more deterioration was occurring in that existing bin, and we could see that the other bins were continuing to deteriorate. So we hired a structural engineer from a firm called Ayers Associates to come and do an assessment of the bins. At that time, we also noticed that what we all affectionately call the plaza, its east wall, was also bowing out. And so while we had Ayers Associates in town, we also had them look at the plaza structure. And after they did their assessment, they sent back a report and basically said that the section of the Riverwalk underneath the 8 bins needed to be closed to the public until such time that repairs could be made to the bins. And they also suggested that what they saw for movement in the plaza, that it also needed to be closed to the public until such time as the city could make a determination as to what it wanted to do with the plaza and the 8 bins. We took both of these items to Public Works in early January, gave the Public Works Commission options as to what they could do with the plaza and the 8 bins, everything from do nothing to do a temporary repair, to do a tear down and replacement, and or tear down and just put natural materials back in its place. Those all had obviously varying costs, and one that fell the next most reasonable cost other than do nothing was to raise the structures and put back a natural landscape made up of riprap. We own a quarry here in the city, and so it's very conducive for us to put back a riprap material because we can use our own stone in doing so. The other thing that engineering has done during this time is we've been out seeking grants. We thought we had an opportunity with a community development block grant, and we did not meet the enough criteria to receive that. We have been looking at different Department of Natural Resources grant. There's a recreational grant known as the Knowles Nelson that involves the Riverwalk. We thought that might be a competitive grant. We were told we didn't score high enough points to really submit a grant for that. And we also looked at another Department of Natural Resources grant called a Targeted Runoff Management Grant, which is known as a TRIM grant. And we just found out this last week by the DNR that we don't qualify for that. So we're kind of running out of options for receiving any type of grant funding for that. So we keep moving ahead with what is budgeted for this year in the city to start working on this project. We're looking at this project as basically 2 phases. The first phase will be the raising of the plaza and the 8 seawall bins, and constructing the stream bank stabilization with the rock riprap. And the Riverwalk will remain closed at basically where to the south where the 8th bin exists. The Riverwalk will only go as far north as where that 8th bin was, but the rest will be gone, and we will not have an opportunity to reestablish that until 2022. So the raising and the riprap stabilization will be done hopefully this year in 2021. And then in 2022, we'll work at reestablishing the Riverwalk path. We'll bring it up from the south end where the 8th bin was, bring it to the middle of the First Street parking lot, and then bring it across the First Street parking lot and discharge the Riverwalk out onto South First Street. At that time, we'll also be working at repaving and pavement marking the parking lot. We're going to add another entrance into the parking lot, so it'll be in one way, out another. And with that redevelopment, we'll be adding a stormwater feature to the parking lot via a biofilter along the west edge of the parking lot, so that as we have water runoff and snow runoff, we'll be able to capture it in the biofilter and actually give it some treatment before it discharges into the river. So that's kind of an update on what's going on with the plaza and the river bends on the east side of the river.
It's definitely a big, expensive project for a relatively small space, but that is really old riverbanks for you, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so I'd like to just touch on one thing you guys may have seen a little bit about in news recently, and that's the creation of a new tax increment financing district being formed in the downtown area. It's a big, complex, confusing topic, but Planning Commission has been addressing it, and the council will be addressing it soon. So if Mayor Mcfarland could just touch a little bit on the creation of TID 8, kind of the boundaries of it and why we're talking about it.
Sure. So we have recently started having our public portion of the meetings about the creation of TID 8. TID 8 is in large part an overlay district of TID 5, which is commonly referred to as our downtown TID. And one of the main reasons that we're looking at the creation of TID 8 is honestly in large acknowledgement of what we've talked about a lot here this evening. There is a large amount of public and private interest in this area of the community. And we know, based on just Jane Ellen's conversation, if you kind of take that and extrapolate it, that there's a large amount of, high value improvements that will need to be made. And a lot of times when you have that public interest and you have, expensive improvements that need to be made, a TID is one of the few tools that cities have in their toolbox to incentivize and to kind of assist in filling that gap that could exist in a project. So the big rule with TIDs is cities have to pass kind of a but-for test. So but for the creation of a TID or but for an incentive being provided, X project would not happen. And in order to best position ourselves as a city for the potential projects that are coming down the pike, we are putting forward to the Planning Commission and then to the Council the creation of TID 8. One of the other reasons is that we're overlaying TID 8 largely over TID 5 is, like there is in government, there's never a lack of statute or law. And the limitations around TIDs are very, very controlled. So there's only so many years that those TIDs can spend, and TID 5 has about 13 years left. And typically in those last 5 years of that remaining period, you can't spend, you can't enter into new deals, you can't spend except on debt and administration, kind of boring things, but all in all, it's limiting. So TID 5's life in the way of really incentivizing new development and redevelopment has largely started to wind down. So we're looking at creating TID 8 in order to continue to encourage the development and redevelopment of areas where we've seen a lot of public and private investment. We as a city, there's a 12% of our total equalized value. That's the limit we can have in a TID, and we're hovering right around 4%. So we as a city, don't run around, creating TIDs where they don't make sense. We have a handful of TIDs right now. TID 4 is one of our successful TIDs that'll be closing in the next few years. TID 5 is the one I just described to you. TID 6 is largely one parcel. And TID 7 is fairly new. And we have seen some development there. And it's an area that we at the city continually try to encourage development in. So we feel with the resources that municipalities have, that this is the next best step for us in order to make sure that the interest that could be continues to percolate around this area of town has the best chance of success it can have. So we're putting forward creating this TID to incentivize and continue to encourage public and private investment in this area of our community.
Thank you. That's a great explanation.
No, thanks. I didn't prepare it, so I'm glad that came off well. I know that Jacob saw me and be like, what? I'm talking about today? So Jacob's really our in-house. Jacob, do you have anything that you would add to that?
You were very precise in what all details the creation of the TID. So thank you. Sorry, that's my 3-year-old.
That's okay. If people, I think the biggest message I would like to share with this group though is, I've been doing this for almost 8 years, and there's still components of tax incrementing financing and districts that I have to stop and read a statute on or ask an expert about. So we don't expect you to understand the ins and outs of TIDs. What we do want, and what I would ask of you, is to ask us. We want you to feel empowered with answers. We don't want you to have concerns that really are unfounded in many ways. We want the opportunity to explain to you what, frankly, being in a TID can provide you as a business owner and a landowner. So if you have questions, please reach out to me or to Jacob and just give us the opportunity to answer those for you so that you're kind of operating from a position of knowledge versus concern.
Excellent. Thank you. So I'd like to next move on to discussion of the soon-to-be formalized Downtown Main Street Reconstruction Task Force. It's no secret that the Main Street Bridge is slated for replacement. Right now, the Wisconsin Department of Transportation is looking at 2026. The city has petitioned the DOT to try to move that up to 2024, but we are at the mercy of the state schedule. Our bridge is not in wonderful condition, thus the need to want to move it up, but it is inspected, it is safe. The state wouldn't allow us to drive on it if it wasn't, so I'll keep that in mind. But we want to be very proactive with the bridge reconstruction coming up, and also a very necessary reconstruction of all of Main Street through the downtown. That we want to have a wonderful plan in place that has a tremendous amount of public input. And we also want to do everything we can starting now to make sure that all the downtown businesses are successful through the reconstruction projects, that our downtown residents have access to their properties. This is going to be probably the biggest project that we deal with as a downtown. We're all going to work on it together, but we're starting with this new task force that I would ask Janelle and Holloway to talk a little bit about.
Thank you, Melissa. As Melissa stated, the Main Street Cole Bridge is slated to be reconstructed in 2026. And we have the library and the town square also occurring this year, next year for 2021 and 2022. So there's a lot of activity going on in the downtown. And the city has been petitioned by several different groups over the years to see what we can do with the downtown. When can we repave? When can we do this? When we can do that? And in most recent years, we wanted to get some of these other projects out of the way before we start moving forward. It'll cost about $1 million a block to do the revitalization of the downtown street between the right-of-ways with sidewalk and curb and gutter, utilities, new pavement. There's electrical work, traffic signals, a lot of work that's going to go into the Main Street downtown reconstruction. It'll be about 11 blocks. It'll run from St. Bernard's Church east all the way to what I call now the New Market Street by Sharp Corner Park. And so there's going to be a lot involved with that. So as we started thinking about moving forward with the downtown reconstruction program, it just seemed to make sense if we could pull stakeholders together now in 2021 and start working through what are some of the amenities we'd like to see: streetscaping and parklets and traffic calming devices and lighting and street parking. Do we do diagonal parking? Do we do parallel parking? What are things that the stakeholders would like to see on a wish list for making the downtown as beautiful as we could possibly make it? So I met with the mayor, met with Melissa as the Watertown Main Street Executive Director. We started visioning who should be on and who should be members to start putting that vision together. And we came up with, obviously the mayor would serve on this. The mayor would have an appointed alderperson, a member from the RDA, Watertown Main Street, the executive director, a downtown business owners, city engineering department, Watertown Historic and Downtown Design Commission, Wisconsin DOT. Let's not forget that the bridge is a connecting highway. State Trunk Highway 19 runs through town, and so that road is theirs. We have responsibilities for maintenance on it, but it still is a state highway going through town. Watertown Chamber of Commerce member, a citizen at large, and a youth advisory committee. So we brought this to Public Works in January of this year. It was very well supported by that commission and moved forward to the council on February 2nd via a resolution establishing this task force. And I believe tomorrow evening on the agenda will be announcing who the mayor has appointed for those positions. And so we have our task force formulated now with its members, and we have put together a preliminary timeline, but we'll hope to have a kickoff meeting here at the end of April. And we'll do our vision of reconstructed Main Street between April and July of this year. selection process of amenities between July and December of this year, start doing business education in February of 2022, Common Council education in February of 2022, public education in March of 2022, and strategies for business owners beginning in 2023. The idea is to not only do the visioning, but also help with education and outreach to the business community and the public as well, and start helping them put a plan together for things that they can be proactive in during the construction phase, because this project will not be done in 1 year. Even if we have the opportunity of starting this project in 2027, again, 11 blocks aren't done in 1 season. We'll probably have to start on the west side of the bridge, and that could very well be done in 1 season. But once we get onto the east side of the bridge, we really be pushing to try to get that done then in 1 construction season also. But hopefully we can get everything done within a 2-year time period. But so pretty excited about it, to do that visioning and work with stakeholders to put a vision together.
I'll just add to that, the intention is that, we have this group that votes and makes a recommendation to the Public Works Committee, and, that's where the final say will really come into play. But we intend to hold the meetings, both pandemic or not, virtual and in person, so that people who do, who can't step away from their business, or who run, who work a traditional, 8 to 5 or whatever it is job, have the opportunity to be a part of it and to engage. So even though there's only 10 people that are voting and making these recommendations, the meetings will be publicized and open to the public, just like any other meeting we have would be. And we intend to maintain a virtual option. The goal here is really just once and for all to put it all on paper and say, this is what we really think is best, and to not piecemeal the strategy. So we're super enthused to have this group come together. And Jane Ellen said it's $1 million a block, and there's 11 blocks, and I can tell you guys, we normally borrow at most for annual streets, at least since I've been here, around $1.5 million a year. So we are pairing this effort, this strategy, with more conversations about funding roads and how we fund those improvements over time. And we're looking forward to finally having just a vehicle to have these conversations and to have them in a all-encompassing manner where people who want to be a part of them can be. And then to have a community recommendation and not, a special interest recommendation or a business owner's particular request. So we're excited to partner with this group of people, and we're excited to have people from varying points of view be a part of the conversation. It's exciting.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you, Jane Ellen. Thank you, Emily. And thank you everyone for listening to all these city updates. I feel like they're important. It's great to have an opportunity to kind of to get it all out there. The newspaper is covering this meeting tonight, and we're recording it, so Watertown TV can air it. But it's nice to be able to hear all this, because there is so much going on. But I'd like to move on to next, and this is what I hope maybe wakes up our quiet group, because I know there's some business owners in the crowd. I'd like us to talk a little bit about COVID-19 and how that impacted local businesses and impacted Watertown. I thought to get the discussion going, I would invite my friend Matt Sampon, who is the manager of the town cinema, to kind of get the discussion started. We've obviously had a very difficult year. Their difficulties continue, but they were really, really creative in what they did to stay connected to the public, to have their pop-up popcorn and slushy and snack takeout. And I mean, it was it's not what we wanted to see, but it was great to see Matt and his crew outside a lot this summer. But Matt, if I could turn it over to you, and you kind of talk about your experiences and your thoughts on where we're going from here with the pandemic.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. I appreciate that. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, good. So yeah, basically, at the town cinema, we went from only having 1 day off inside of 11 years for the polar vortex to all of a sudden the pandemic happened, and we ended up having to close for a little bit of time that when we first started, we had no idea how long it was going to be. And for the first couple days, I kind of thought we just had a couple days off. We'd do some deep cleaning and get ready for when we can open our doors. Obviously, it didn't turn out that way. And we knew that we had to reconnect with our customers, even though our building wasn't even open. So we came up with the drive up popcorn, and we did a bunch of different trial and error on how to do it, because that was the first time doing it. Like Melissa said, we were outside and we had to deal with the elements as well. We had to deal with people parking in front of our building, a lot of different challenges. But we found that when we first started, I mean, it was just amazing response, and just having people come out and getting our popcorn and finding reasons to get out of their house and using us as a reason to get out of the house was really, really cool. We found, we weren't really making a lot of money. We were basically covering the staff and what we had to buy for our inventory. And what we kind of found, though, is the interaction with our customers when our building wasn't open, that was huge, because it just kind of gave us a little relevance while people weren't able to come in and see what we normally are doing. So with that, we also did some different kind of thinking, as far as we have a lot of challenges that maybe other businesses don't have. So I don't know how much to really go into it, but really the way that the movie studios aren't coming out with movies the way that we used to have. And sometimes they're going to streaming and all these different challenges that all movie theaters are dealing with. We had to kind of come up with a way to use our building other than just as playing movies for other people. And we did birthday parties. We did special events for just families that didn't feel comfortable coming out in the public and they wanted to come see a movie on their own. And we did a video gaming tournament for a birthday party at some point, which it's all stuff we haven't really done too much of. So it was kind of just thinking outside the box, come up with a way to use our building in a way that we didn't normally do. And, we did that kind of stuff too. We wanted to use our building for a way to kind of communicate with other people too, and kind of help other businesses that are struggling with our advertising, just even through our Facebook, and just kind of showing what other people are doing around the community and showing the events that are going on. And it doesn't always have to be, and this is how we feel, is that it's not always about us. And if there's a restaurant that's doing something really cool, or they're changing their facade, like Main Street Cafe, we were on top of that. We were posting on our Facebook. That's the kind of stuff that we know is really important, that relationship with our community. And Melissa brought up White Oak Builders on First and Main. They came in while we were gone, or while we were closed, and they asked us to do this huge concessions remodel. And they basically donated 95% of it and did a full remodel of our concession stand. So that was really, really cool too. So it's that kind of stuff that we try and, like I said, just kind of go outside the box and try and find ways to use our building, ways to use our resources to get people involved and get people to still find, relevance in a movie theater when we're closed. And now that we're open, movies are starting to trickle in a little bit. So there is going to be, an uptick, and hopefully things will get better.
Matt, does it seem like people are starting to come back?
Yeah, we just had a huge weekend with Tom and Jerry, just having all the families coming out. Right now we're still doing the 50% for capacity, and everyone felt really comfortable. We're cleaning our seats like crazy after every show. We're cleaning all of the armrests and the backs and stuff. So, and the other thing that we had to do too is kind of, unfortunately, we had to let go of most of our staff. It's basically just me and one other person. And so we're just running Friday through Sunday. Things are a little bit more spread out, so I have time to clean between shows and stuff like that. So, you're always going to see me if we're open, and it's been working out though.
We we just talked a lot, we talked for an hour about huge city projects happening downtown. But what I always, want people to remember is that without our small businesses, we don't have a downtown. And our small businesses are the backbone of everything that we do.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the messages that, to put out there is how we all have to work together. And I know people already are, and that's pretty awesome. But, even just with the sharing of the events and sharing of, special updates on your buildings and stuff like that, that all can go a really long way.
For sure. Does anyone have any questions for Matt?
I don't have any questions, but my family went to Tom and Jerry this weekend, so
That's awesome.
they had a good time.
Good.
I just wanted to echo a little bit of what Matt said too, that, you see, there is a little more hustle and bustle, I think, around town. We opened the library up after being closed for months now, and we opened at 8:30, and our first patron was in at 8:31. So the cars were parked outside, and hopefully that'll bring more traffic to downtown too.
Well, I'll go ahead and I'll put Amber Smith on the spot. Amber's our Main Street Board President, of course, owner of Chic Boutique. And Amber was really innovative and creative during the time that we were locked down with moving a lot of her business online. She did these great video shows of her inventory and drove all over town doing curbside delivery for her customers. So Amber, if you just want to talk a little bit about what it took to pivot. I know that you did fashion shows from your closet at home, right? At one point in time, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of decided when I came home and I was basically told that I had to shut down my business, that I was going to still try to keep it up and running. And I figured everyone else was at home. So I just was on Facebook constantly trying to either show off all the new inventory that I had received the week prior to closing. I had gotten all my spring inventory in. So I was having a little bit of a panic of what I was going to do with all the inventory, if I wasn't going to be able to sell it, if it was just going to sit in my store for a few months. And then I figured, well, since I'm not really doing anything else, I would deliver to all of my customers, because basically a lot of them were from Watertown or around the area. And I went to a buffalo farm one time. I also went to a large farm, and I literally went up the driveway, and there was farm animals on each side of me, greeting me. And I actually got to know some of my customers live really close to me. It was honestly, very humbling. I'm sure just like Matt felt it. I loved seeing that people were going and picking up food from restaurants. I remember when the theater said that they were going to have popcorn available. And I literally messaged Melissa and I said, I hope that there is a line all the way down Main Street with people waiting to pick up popcorn. And I said, you need to go take some pictures so we can remember, when the community came together. But I think that's the biggest thing that I really felt is how much the community came together, and all the business was trying to help each other. And I learned a lot, and I learned that I don't have to be open to sell products, even though I 100% want to be open. I never want to be told that I cannot be open ever again. But I was able to figure it out. We'll put it that way.
I think too, this, even though a lot of people weren't moving around a lot, folks who maybe weren't quote unquote local shoppers became local shoppers. And I think a lot of people who maybe more inclined to buy online or go to big box or go out of Watertown rediscovered all the great businesses that are right here. And I wish we had some folks on tonight from some of our restaurants. I'm not seeing them, of course, they're probably open running their businesses right now, but I hope, they too really felt the outpouring of support with so many people doing curbside. And all the businesses that, created delivery services on the fly. So
I can say that they probably were, because whenever they came to get our popcorn, they also had takeout in their front seat, and I had to smell it every time.
good. But does anybody else wanna just comment about their experience with the COVID? I hope everyone is feeling like they're getting back to normal now. It seems like people are out and about, and I'm glad I'm still seeing lots of people wearing masks. That's important, but it's nice to see people moving around again for sure. Okay, well, since this has been, Emily?
I was just going to say, I would be remiss to not take an opportunity to thank you all for the incredible amount of work that you've put in this year. It sounds trite at this point. We're a year into this, and it seems like overkill to keep saying it, but one thing that you probably haven't heard is a thank you from the perspective of making my life and Carol Quest's life and our chief of police, his life, easier by complying. We had so much more compliance in this community than a lot did. And that's really a testament to your willingness to work together and to understand the bigger picture and to be a part of something positive versus something divisive. And we certainly had businesses that gave us things to talk about. But the three of us operated from a position of right in the middle. We're not here to project our personal opinions. We're here to do what we think is in the best interest of the community and to be a part of the bigger picture. And so that's what we've tried to maintain, but we couldn't have done that with the level of success if it wasn't for our small business community understanding that really you guys were in the driver's seat here and that you controlled the trajectory in a lot of ways. And I can tell you that didn't go unnoticed. There were the businesses that weren't exactly in the same position as the majority of you all. The community noticed, and they called us a lot and told us. We were really in a very difficult position, like you all were, but we wouldn't have been able to weather it the way that we did if it wasn't for your willingness. And I know that willingness didn't come easy for many of you, and I can't imagine being a business owner in the best of times. I'm way too risk adverse for that. But you all made our lives easier, and your willingness to come along with us on doing what's best for the community did not go unnoticed. And I hope that you felt the support from this community. I know that I did, watching all of you pivot. I have enjoyed experiences that I never had prior to this pandemic, and it's because of how much you all adjusted. I've enjoyed experiences in many of your businesses that my family and I will never forget. And it's been because of your ingenuity and your creativity and your willingness and your fight. And I thank you as the leader of this community, but I thank you as a person who's been born and raised here to see the representation of what it means to be from this community. And we aren't our neighbors, and it showed in this year. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for towing the line that was tough to tow, and for coming along with us in a really difficult year. We're almost there, but we couldn't have gotten there without you all. I can't even imagine how much harder it would have been. So thank you very much on behalf of myself and Carol and the chiefs and my whole team. You all really showed up this year, and you made it a lot less painful.
Thank you. Since I've got a quiet group here tonight, I think I can probably say we can probably start to wrap it up. We're almost an hour and a half in. Thank you all very much for your time. One thing I did want to ask, and this could be something where you guys can all just message me independently, is I'd like us to really start thinking about, from a business point of view, what do we need on Main Street? What businesses don't we have that we think could thrive and do well here? You have to have a location to put them, of course, but the Main Street program, and I know the chamber and the city all want to, start looking toward what are businesses that we could add that would enhance all the businesses we currently have. So if you guys want to give a little thought to that, reach out to me personally. You can message me through the Main Street page or text me or send me an email. You guys all know how to find me. That is something now that things are getting a little more back to normal that we really do want to look ahead to. So that is all I have for this evening. Anyone has anything they want to add, feel free to do so now. If not, I would say good night. And thank you. All right, good night, everybody.